Good morning. You see, very early morning, a bit unlike me, but so beautiful out here. I mean, we're lucky with this run of weather. Unbelievable, especially we Brits. Now, we've got quite a lot to pack in this morning. Some questions, some comments, and something that happened yesterday which I wanted to share with you. But, of course, this is first thing in the morning, and how do I start my day? I haven't had a swing yet, so bear with me. Not quite 5 seconds. Okay, yes, I heard you. Okay, so there's a bit of swinging, get me loose. I do a bit of that dance to golf and do my exercises. I've done those before, so I wouldn't have just done that straight off. Okay, so there's my hole in one. We'll put that to one side. Oh, so. Right. Now the first thing is, you'll see that I've got my book with me, and excuse me, but I'm gonna give a little bit of a plug for that, and I'll tell you why. Because the other day, John Parsons asked some questions and asked a question about the short game shipping, and I mentioned the fact that I've been coaching his brother for a while, and John's just come for the first time. Well, his brother Tony, who is a football coach, soccer, he coaches kids, and he and I hit it off because he understands where I'm coming from as a coach. So, and I had this WhatsApp message from him yesterday. Hi Brian, I've just reread your book for the third time. Sorry to put you through that, Tony. The third time over the last couple of days. I've enjoyed it more than ever now that I more fully understand your philosophy. I seriously can't see why anyone, particularly anyone over 40, would want to approach playing the game in any other way. Loving your videos too. Take care. So the point is that I know that I was the author of this, but I'm actually rereading it myself. Now that might sound a bit strange, but it's a long time ago I wrote it, and you know, you can't remember exactly everything you said. And why am I reading it at the moment? Well, I've just started writing my next book. Yes, and I've decided to use this wonderful opportunity of having time and space, because when I wrote this I just had to immerse myself in it. I couldn't have all sorts of other things going on in my life, so I've got this possibility now, and I'm going to take that. That might mean that over the next few weeks I'm going to do less videos, but I think that's quite good because you've had over 20 already. And as I said right at the start, I don't want to overload you with too much information. I need your feedback now. I like to think there's a theme, and you're just getting more and more detail on that theme to help your understanding. But I was very keen at the beginning, and I'm always keen not to overload you. So what I might just do to allow me to write my book is just drop it back to maybe a couple of videos a week. Your thoughts on that would be interesting. The other thing, of course, is that the more people that get this, and not everybody will like it, that's fine, but the more people who do read it and like it and watch the videos and spread the word. Yesterday, the British PGA put on a webinar. I'm not going to give any names, but let's just say that somebody recognised as one of the top golf teachers in the world in the last 25-30 years was the speaker. Well, I'm afraid, great respect to the guy, but it was obvious that it's all based around the tour player not trusting the amateur golfer to move too much, doesn't like turning, likes coil. Oh dear, and as soon as I hear the word coil and I think about our older bodies, so please, a lot of people around the world are suffering because of this, so spread the word. And I often have people say, well, I've got this friend and I keep telling him he should come and see you and read you, and he doesn't. But don't do that. Unfortunately, you can't make people do things. All you could do, you could buy him a copy, and buy her a copy. Still want more women? Please, please, please get in touch. We know you love dancing, and one of my early successes with this was a lady at a certain age, and she wrote to me after a 3-day course. She said, I'm now dancing around the golf course, which was lovely. So there you go, a little plug for my book. And of course I've got to reread this because I don't want to repeat the same things. There will be a bit of repetition because there's some core basics that will be in there, but hopefully a lot of new stuff of which you're helping me. So right, book plug finished. I'm just going to start off with 3 of the reviews, and they're fairly short, but they're interesting. It's interesting how creative and inventive people can be. This is from William Tarr. Brian, after watching 7 Days in Utopia on your recommendation, I began incorporating the see it, feel it, trust it principles. I added one additional principle: own it. I now write SOFT to mark my golf balls to remind me of these principles and swing without tension. The journey continues. Stay well. See it, own it, feel it, trust it. Soft. And soft is quite good, isn't it? Because if you're hard, you're tense. Thank you, William. From Keith Riley. This was 3 days ago. Well, it was 3 days ago when I printed this out, so maybe it's a bit longer now. I also noticed that you grip the club further down the shaft on some swings rather than others. Were you trying to differentiate the feel of, say, a driver from a short iron? Great video and soundtrack, by the way. No, you see this I don't know what you'd call that. It's like a fence, but you don't say fence on a balcony, do you? Anyway, when I'm here and swinging, I could actually hit it. So it wouldn't do me any good, and it wouldn't do that any good either. So I just shorten it to make sure I couldn't hit it. So nothing. It reminds me of us was talking about. It's a little story just to show how traditions get continued, and it's a story of a young girl who was watching her mother cook the Sunday roast, and she prepared the roast. And in preparing the roast, which was about this, she cut the end off about 2 inches. And the girl said to her mother, "Mum, why are you cutting the end off?" Oh, she said, well, my mother always did it. Why did she do it? Well, I don't know. So a few weeks later, they were with her mother, with the grandmother, and they said, oh, by the way, can you tell us why it is you cut a couple of inches off the roast? And she said, yes, because our oven was too small, I had to cut 2 inches off. So the future generations are going to keep cutting 2 inches off, not knowing why. So, interesting little story. Okay, now to Robert Court. Robert, 2 things. Firstly, everything moves together. Legs, body, arms and club. Totally agree. There's not so much a sequence, just a motion going back and another going through. Lovely. I find that really difficult to do. So I've actually contacted him and talked to him a little bit about that. Secondly, you have the same flower pots as my parents. So thank you, Robert. Sometimes it's those little things which are important. Now to today's, I've got 2 things here, and this is from Mike D'Antonio. I think I've mentioned him before. Hello, Brian. He's from, I don't know how you pronounce this. I'll have a go. Could it be Poughquag in New York? Poughquag. Wow. Hello, Brian. I hope this email finds you well. First, let me say a big thank you for your recent videos during this horrible time with suffering. I look forward to them as a small bright spot. I've emailed you in the past thanking you for bringing the joy of golf to me, without having to do all kinds of specific and rigid conditions through your videos, your website, your coaches and your book. At 62, golfing now for only about 2 years has helped me greatly. I have a question for you in regard to hand position at contact. I hear so much about shaft lean, supination, forward press, etc. But with the easy swing, are we still taking all that into consideration? I would imagine we'd need some to get the distance we want, but I don't recollect any videos, correct me if I'm wrong please, about how the hands, wrists, forearms should look at impact. Also, what are your thoughts about divots? I know we need to hit the ground after the ball, but divots seem to be very hard for me to take. Let me just put that to one side for a moment. So, interesting questions. So, there are a lot of golfers out there who struggle to flow through the shot and finish nicely. If you see somebody on a golf course with this nice finish, the chances are you know you're looking at a good golfer. So, we talked the other day about the difference between seeing the ball and looking at it, and that's had a lot of repercussion. A lot of people have liked that. To me, that's a simple concept that I've had for years, but maybe sort of thing I don't share. I do in a one-to-one lesson, of course, but it's not the sort of thing you write about in a book. Maybe we'll do in the next one. And the more we're focused and looking at that ball, and the more we're thinking about the positions we've got to get into there, the less likely we are to be able to flow through the ball and finish. So we end up trying to get into that position, and in a movement that takes something under 2 seconds, how can we focus on getting a position within that movement? It's just not possible. So that's one reason why, the major reason why I don't talk too much about impact. And let me reassure you, I want everybody to have a good impact with the ball, because it's one of the joys of the game. But how you go about it is not by trying to reproduce everything that you see in a picture of a good player at that time. I think that shaft, lean and lag, they might be good for those top guys, but they're no good for us. They really aren't. We want to release the club, and if we're releasing it and going through with it, it doesn't matter if you actually release it a little bit early. Even on chips, you can actually do this. You can flip it as long as your body's moving through. The worst thing you can do is this, trying to stay behind the ball, and you just never get to release the club. So, and the other thing about a divot, yes, but what sort of divot do we want? I would suggest that if we want a divot at all, it's a sliver. Wild Bill Melhorn and Bobby Shave, if anybody knows them, Bobby Shave is a student of Wild Bill's. Wild Bill passed away many years ago. Bobby's still around, but getting on a bit, as we all are. And they used what we called a grass whip, something that exists in America we don't have over here. But it was a tool that you cut the grass with, and you're just shaving. Bobby Shave, you're shaving the grass, brushing the grass, bruising the top of the grass, no more. Taking out great wads of turf, if you're stiff and tight and you're hitting at the ball and taking a lot of divot, no good for your back or any other part of your body. So to get a divot, I know we talked the other day about the downswing. Well, I don't like downswing, because why haven't we got an upswing and a downswing? And that's okay for chopping wood. What we want is we want to swing through the ball. Our duty is to get the club to move forward so that it moves the ball forward. And if in doing so we can get the bottom edge of the club to brush the grass so it's underneath the ball flies up in the air. And if we can get that grass slightly after the ball, we have the effect of squeezing the ball between the club face and the turf, and that gives it an extra bit of propulsion. So, but the way we do that is by moving forward through the ball, so that our centre is moving forward. And if you can imagine an arc, the bottom of the arc is opposite my centre. When I move here, the bottom of the arc goes to the right, and as I come through, it's going to move to the left. And as long as I get that timing right, I'll hit ball turf. And look at a great ball striker like Tom Watson. Hardly takes a divot, brushes the grass. Very few top players actually take a big divot. Okay, so I hope that bit helps, but a very good question, Michael. Okay, last question today, and I'm a bit wary of the time, but hopefully you're quite enjoying these videos, so if they go on a bit, it's not too much of a problem. And this is actually just a comment rather than a question from a long-standing student of mine, online student from Massachusetts in America, John Penrose. He starts off by saying, "Hi Brian, stay well." Thank you, John. Not a question, but a thought. One thing that is very helpful to me in my dart swing is to roll the left ankle more so than pirouette on my toe, which I have a tendency to do. You may want to talk about that on a video. All the best, John. So, the reason that whatever he's doing, if it's working for him, please bear in mind that there are no rights and wrongs. There are only things that work and things that don't. and they are tailored to the individual. Very difficult for anyone to say everybody must do such and such. So I think what he's saying is that he's getting his ankle doing something like this, if you can see that, as opposed to going up here. That's not a good move because it's going forward and it's not helping me to turn. So if I do this, get the knee and the ankle moving, and my foot actually is rotating, then that inspires or encourages some nice rotation in there. To do that without the feet moving means you've got to instigate the movement from up here, so we all become upper body and it gets tight and awkward. So a very good point, John. Suppleness in that ankle is good. Not this moving forward and my ankle is now locked. I'm actually getting it across here. And I know this looks a little bit twee, but the golf swing is more of a feminine thing. I'm sure you ladies will appreciate that, because that's what we masculine guys do, the male ego at the forefront. One last little thing, and this comes from a very good student of mine locally, very nice man called Harry Hode, and who said, don't forget to tell everybody about Ibrina and Pilates. So that's a series of videos that are available through my website. Yes, you have to pay for them, I'm afraid, because I had to take a lot of her time to do this filming. So it's a series of videos about Pilates for senior golfers. And I've been doing it for 2 years now. It's helped me get better core strength. It's allowed me to go back and really get stuck into the gym again. And I'm feeling good, and my golf shots are getting better. And life is better when you're fitter and stronger, as I'm sure you'll appreciate. So that's all for today. I'll be back in a couple of days, and enjoy this nice sense of peace and calm that we all have. Okay, see you soon.